Hi, my name is Dr. Cory. I'm one half of the Healing Couple, and today I wanted to talk about this phrase that's been going around a lot, which is breathwork helping us detoxify, or breathwork helps us detoxify 70% of our cellular toxins every single day. And so I wanted to dive into that today. So today we're going to be talking about, number one, the number of toxicants that are introduced into the body, the basics in science on detoxification, the anatomy of our lungs and how that ties into detoxification, and then finally, even some of the phases of detoxification and really what that means. And so based upon kind of what I just said right there, you may have an idea of where I'm going with this. But overall, our bodies are continuously involved in a detoxification process. For instance, recent estimates do show that on average, women are exposed to 168 different toxins daily, while men are exposed to about 85. Why is there such a huge discrepancy there? A lot of it has to do with personal care products, makeup, moisturizers, conditioners, that sort of thing. Men usually just stick with one stick of deodorant and one 2-part shampoo and conditioner. Am I right? And so in general, we can say that we are continuously exposed to more and more toxins within our environment. And so how do we actually remove most toxic substances, especially toxins that we're exposed to because of these types of products like personal care products, petroleum-based products, what are called PUFAs or forever chemicals, right? Well, a lot of it has to do with this system within our body called the lymphatics. And our lymphatics are essentially what I like to call is the drainage dump of our body. And what is really interesting about the lymphatic system is that it does not have a pump. For instance, your blood circulation system, which involves arteries and veins, maybe you've heard that before, is moved throughout that system, that venous and arterial circulation, via our heart. It's a pump, right? Well, the lymphatic system does not have a pump. And this movement of fluid within these vessels, lymphatic vessels, is very much reliant upon our movement, particularly the movement of our muscles. And so one of the most important muscles in moving lymphatic fluid is our diaphragm. And our diaphragm is a muscle that's located right beneath our lungs and is, for the most part, I guess if we can throw a percentage out there, 70 to 80% of our lung function is determinant upon our diaphragm contracting. Because when it contracts, our lungs fill with air, particularly the lower lobes of our lungs. And what is great about the diaphragm is that it has an insane amount, actually thousands of lymphatic vessels located within the diaphragm. And so every time that you take a deep belly breath, not an anxiety-filled chest breath, you are going to be pumping your lymphatic fluid. And so one of the most powerful things that you can do for your clients, your patients, if you're a breathwork facilitator, is to tell people to take 100 deep belly breaths per day. That's right. I said 100, not 10, not 20, not 30, not 40, not 50, 100. And because what is this? This is going to be doing every time that you contract that diaphragm, you are increasing the pressure within your thoracic cavity, so your rib cage and the main torso of your body, and essentially pumping that fluid into a thoracic duct, which would then, over time, through other systems, exit the body more efficiently. And when your lymphatic vessels are not moving fluid in a timely manner, it's essentially like a backup of garbage. Imagine if you just on your street, the garbage man didn't come for like 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. Yeah, it would get kind of stinky. There would be a bunch of trash everywhere, maybe rats, things would get really nasty and messy, and there wouldn't be a cleanup. So every time you take a deep belly breath, imagine that you are quite literally cleaning out the lymphatic circulation, the garbage dump within your body, and making it work more efficiently. And so because there's this conversation around 70%, 70%. Our lungs detoxify our body 70%, 70%. Well, I really dove into that, and that's something that I honestly have said myself sometimes in trainings and whatnot, and I take ownership over this. Not that this is necessarily a wrong statistic, but I think where this percentage gets misconstrued is that your diaphragm is responsible for a majority of your lung function. And because it's full of lymphatic vessels, people then lump that 70% in to the 70% function that the diaphragm has as a muscle breathing within your body, if that makes sense. So by proxy, your lungs are going to be helping remove a lot of the daily toxic buildup within your lymphatic system. So not that it's like complete bunk science, but it's a term that's thrown around a lot and not truly understood. So the fact that you're listening to this right now, you probably understand more than 9 out of 10 breathwork facilitators. And so where I want to go from here is the overall anatomy of our lungs and the fact that yes, our lungs breathe in oxygen. Oxygen helps increase energy within our body because without oxygen, our cells cannot produce as much energy in the form of ATP. And as a byproduct of making energy, we make carbon dioxide. Very similar to like a car. You put in gas and oxygen mix, and then you end up with carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide and a lot of other bad things. But we also produce carbon dioxide. And when that builds up within our system, that can produce inflammation, create acidity problems, can also create congestive heart issues, and as a result, make us more inflamed, less healthy. And so we want not only a steady stream of oxygen within our body because it's quite literally the life force of our cells, but we want an efficient way in order to remove carbon dioxide. And so we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. And so, yes, the lungs are a part of that cellular process, but I would not classify that as a detoxification process. That is a normal metabolic process within the body. Because if you're not breathing out carbon dioxide, you're not alive. It has nothing necessarily to do with removal of waste products like in the lymphatic system. And so I think that gets misconstrued quite a bit as well. And so the true forms of detoxification are phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So phase 1 is where you do have either an oxidization, you add an oxygen molecule, a reduction, you add on maybe a methyl group or a hydrogen group, you hydrate a substance, right? And phase 1 is really about what we call as neutralizing free radicals. And free radicals are things that have a negative charge associated with them. They're a negative thing, but they also have a negative charge. And so this would include many things like acidic foods, carbon dioxide, methylated byproducts. And so you want to have a healthy phase 1 functioning within your body. Now, how do you do that? Well, if you want to create oxidization and antioxidization, you are going to need B vitamins, amino acids, vitamin C, zinc, vitamin A, flavonoids. These are types of things that you can consume in your body to help with phase 1 detoxification. Now, phase 2 is the next step. This usually involves enzymes or an additional chemical group that's brought in after phase 1. And the whole idea behind phase 2 is to make it more water soluble so you can pee it out, or if necessary, you can poop it out, right? And so through conjugation, you do need glutathione, you need methyl groups, you need sulfonation, acetylation. And so some of the most common substances that can help with this is glutathione, is adding a methyl group. So I'm a big fan of methyl tetrahydrofolate. That's a mouthful, but you can look up MTHF, methyl tetrahydrofolate, and that helps with phase 2. Also glucuronidation. So this process happens naturally within the liver, and other types of sulfur groups. So often people will take substances like NAD or NAC that have sulfur groups within them. So it can involve phase 2 detoxification. And then phase 3 really involves proteins. Phase 3 is really just it's the using proteins to make substances bigger so that it can be excreted through the small intestines. And so there's obviously different mechanisms that I won't go into, but it just involves adding other proteins to the intestines to eliminate them out of the body. So if you want to know, like, does breath work, particularly deep belly breathing, detoxify the body? That's a hard sell for me, but I would say that it helps move lymphatic fluid from regular cellular processes and gets it out of the body. Detoxification occurs in those 3 phases that I just described, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And I will say this, though, is that when people do long-form reset breathwork journeys, which is what me and Jessica specialize in and taking people through transformational experiences, there's actually a lot of physical things that can happen. And one of the more common things that we do see is people that have been sedentary, maybe have gone through a significant health issue, and have a lot of stagnatic lymphatic fluid, right? They're just not hydrated and they're not moving as much. They'll do a breathwork session with us where they're doing maybe 400, maybe 500 deep belly breaths. And remember what I said in the beginning is that for most of our clients, we recommend like maybe 100 to start out with. So it's a lot of deep belly breathing, meaning you're contracting that diaphragm, you're moving a lot of lymphatic fluid, and that is getting dumped into other parts of the body like your liver, your gallbladder, and your large and small intestines, and also your urine to be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 removed out of the body. And so when that process happens, you're going to be upregulating your detox pathways, and it may not get to, conjugating, reducing, adding protein groups to every single toxin that you're dumping from your lymphatic fluid out of your body. And so as a result of that, some of that may get recirculated and you don't feel good, right? You feel quote unquote detoxy. And so during long form breath journeys, I don't think a lot of people talk about this, is you can feel some malaise, some not feeling that great. And that is a result of doing many deep belly breaths over time and essentially catching up on your garbage. Remember what I said before, where it's like, yeah, if you're not moving your lymphatic fluid, it's very similar to getting a bunch of garbage piled up around and outside your house. Now, it might not affect you the first week, the second week, the third week, or the fourth week, but week 5, you smell it. Week 6, maybe you got some rats and infestation. Week 7, now it's just absolute pandemonium, right? So the lymphatic issues builds up over time. And if you're doing 400, 500, 600 deep belly breaths, that's like trying to clean out all the garbage at once. And so you will feel a significant change after that. Now, my recommendation is always drink a lot of water, be gentle with yourself. It's not going to cause any type of long form harm, but it will probably wake you up to the fact of, holy crap, I've been carrying around a lot of toxic material within my lymphatic system, and I should probably keep doing, at least at the very least, deep belly breaths, or spending a lot of time pumping my lymphatic fluid out of my body. Now, if you're not a fan of breath work, a couple different recommendations that I have. Castor oil packs, using a cotton flannel with castor oil, putting it over your liver with a heating pad for about 45 minutes. The other thing that's really good is a rebounder. If you don't have access to a rebounder, maybe you have a trampoline. If you don't have a trampoline, maybe you have a Bosu ball. That's what I have. And bouncing up and down on that first thing in the morning on an empty stomach for 2 minutes. Every time that you bounce down, your lymphatic vessels open. Every time you bounce up, they close. And that open, close creates a pumping action which will move your lymphatic fluid out of your body, just like deep belly breaths. So this is what I want to talk to you guys about, is just the science, the basics of it, the anatomy of it, as well as what really is detoxification, because a lot of breathwork facilitators are throwing around that term, and that's not actually accurate. I would say that breathwork facilitates a movement of garbage, but it doesn't actually get it out of your body. Our body has mechanisms for that. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, smash that that subscribe button, that like button. Keep me in your inbox because more of this is going to be coming your way. If you do have any questions, love for you to jump into the comments and get a part of the conversation. The more knowledge, the more awareness, the better. I'm Dr. Cory, one half of the Healing Couple. Take care.